We have the all-seeing eye on right now, and we will have a quick look here at the goat pasture. So ranked number 1 is Tom Brady. Number 2 is Johnny Unitas. Number 3 is Joe Montana. Number 4 is Peyton Manning. Number 5 is Danny Marino, or good old Dan Marino. Aaron Rodgers at number 6. Number 7, Patrick Mahomes. And number 8, Brett Favre. Now, if Patrick Mahomes wins this year, he'll probably go up a couple stages. Now, for Patrick Mahomes, he has all the ingredients of greatness. And many people believe that he is the best player, all-around player that they've ever seen. Now, Brady did beat him on, I think, his very first year, which was 2006. Brady had the upper hand when he was with Tampa Bay, and they found a way to win. Now, this year, against Brock Purdy, he has more experience, which I think long-term will really help him. I think Brock Purdy is probably the best fit they've had. And we'll have to see if this is going to be a close game. I think it will be. I don't think it's going to be one team is going to run away with it. I also don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game. But Tom Brady, number 1. Number 2, Johnny Unitas. Number 3, Joe Montana. Peyton Manning, number 4. Danny Marino, or Dan Marino. I know him as Danny. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Brett Favre. Now, is there any more after that? No, it doesn't give it to you. Oh, yes, it does. Number 9 is Steve Young. Number 10 is John Elway. 11 is Roger Staubach, which I think I saw maybe when I was very young. Drew Brees, number 12. And Bart Starr, number 13. Number 14, Fran Tarkenton. Oh, look at this. They've got number 16 is Troy Aikman. Number 17, Terry Bradshaw. Number 18, Joe Namath. Number 19, Bob Grease. And number 20, Len Dawson of the Chiefs. How many years ago was that? I bet you that's way back. Interesting. Alright, so let's kill that. Have a look here. Look at the chat. Alright. Let's quickly look at some of the quotes here. And we'll go to X-Pro, which is formerly known as... Do you remember? Does anybody remember that far back? They used to call it TweetDeck. That was quite a ways away. What was your favorite Super Bowl? That is a really good question. What was your favorite Super Bowl? I remember a lot of them being pretty boring, to be honest, as a kid. Or blowouts. But the last couple of years have been really good. I don't like when it's a complete breakaway. and there's only, you know, someone kind of winning, right? All right, let's see what we have here in stories. This is interesting. Marvin Harris Jr. minus 475. Odds to be the first non-QB taken in the 2024 draft. Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Because everybody picks quarterbacks. I didn't quite understand that right away. Let's see what we have on the good vibes here. Why is this so tiny? Let's go like this. That's better. Okay. Let's let's switch it up a bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So we are currently looking at, be careful of what you ignore. Sometimes what you ignore is what you need most. And that's in the bookmarks here. In the search of hashtag kindness matters, sometimes miracles are just good people with kind hearts. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. All right. It says, please repost. Blessed are those who help others, for they are the reflection of God's kindness and compassion. Join me in creating ripples of blessings by support of this noble cause. I like this one. If you see someone falling behind, walk behind them. If you see someone being ignored, find a way to include them. Always remind people of their worth. One small act could mean the world to them. I would agree. And here's another one someone sent. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I've heard that one before. All right. So if you had to guess, who do you think has the greater chance of winning next Sunday? Do you think it's going to be the 49ers with Brock Purdy? Or do you believe it's going to be Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs? Many people are betting on the Chiefs now because they've been in this situation so many times. And with this, experience does help, especially if you look at it the way that they won 2 years ago. And unfortunately, Brock Purdy got hurt last year about mid-playoffs. He had the arm injury. And that's the thing now, that you need a good backup quarterback. All teams. You cannot hope to have a good season now because most quarterbacks this year were injured, especially some of the higher paying ones. Right now, first tier, I would say, would be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Who else do you think should be in that list? Of course, Patrick Mahomes. Brock Purdy, unfortunately, doesn't get the respect I think he richly deserves. There has been a lot of talk recently about Kirk Cousins, and he may move from Minnesota and find a new home. Let's do the notifications here if we can. And we try to do those, I don't know, at least every other day. So let's see what we have today. All right, we have Mark here. And we also have, let's see here. Someone we haven't mentioned before. Well, Helena we mention occasionally, but she's quite the contributor. She's got 33,000 followers. That's pretty impressive. Purpose is the new profit. Influencer, sustainability, FlynnTech, co-founder of Gomp Pack. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Gomp Pack. Mel M is with us. Thank you, Mel. And she's also part of this list here, Simply the Best. We also have Audrey, and I believe that's Greenie. It is Greenie. Okay. Here's a person I've been following, I bet, for 10 years. It's Triple Fan 19, Rick. And Rick is a huge Cowboys fan. Unfortunately, the Cowboys did not do well this year. They kind of choked. I think that's the nicest way of saying it. They did not find a way to win, unfortunately. All right, we have Danny Dimples here as well. Who else we got? Kelly Miller, thank you. I appreciate your support. And we have Alicia, who is a huge contributor. I have no idea how many followers she has. 173,000 followers. That's pretty impressive. I have probably followed her for 12 years. And she's always been very kind. Who else we got here? Someone new. Oh, Bobby Shadow. I have not seen Bobby Shadow for maybe 2 months. There's Bobby there. What's Bobby up to? Let's see here. All right. You always have to be careful with Bobby. Bobby sometimes doesn't post the most. I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah, Bobby's a character. Let's say that. That's the safest way of saying it. We have Lizanne here, Donika. Who else is here today? We have Adam and Maria multiple times here. We have looks like Dina. It is Dina. Dina, which is Consciousness Creation Inspired. That's her new name, I guess. Bobby Brooks is with us as well. And we have Alberto Daniel Hill, thank you. We have Nadine, Right from the Gut. And Nino's Digital Cafe. All right. And I haven't seen him as much recently. I don't know why that is. All right, let's see what we have on Football Stars here. Let's see here. This is an interesting graph. What does this mean here? Let's have a look. It says team wins 62 and the Chiefs. So when I guess they've had 76 contests. No, that would not be correct. That is not correct. They have, let's see here, let's do some quick math together. Looks like 138. So they've had 138 times they have played, including the playoffs, since 2019. Okay, that makes sense. So the Chiefs have won 76 times, and it looks like the 49ers 62. And the team win percentage is 660 for San Fran. But you know what? Here's the thing. Any team can win any game once. And we've seen that all year. And a lot of it is sometimes people just fall asleep at the wheel, right? Or there's some goofy plays and, interceptions and fumbles and people get injured. Sometimes the roster isn't as robust as it usually is. So we're looking here. The 49ers have made 2 Super Bowl appearances, where the Chiefs have made 4. And unfortunately, the 49ers have had 0 wins in the Super Bowl. And since 2019, the Chiefs have had 2. And many people believe they're going to have 3 soon. And this will be Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce's 3rd ring if they're fortunate enough to win. I don't think it's going to be an easy contest by any stretch of the imagination. All right. We have Tony D checking in. We have Tony D waving. Thank you, Tony, on multiple platforms. Tony, are you home right now? Are you at work? Well, if you want to come up, you know the code. At least I think you know the code. So if you don't have the code, just tell me and I can have you come up for a minute. Oh, this is new. This is brand new. So when you put your arrow over the eye, you see currently how many people you have on each platform. That is so cool. Interesting. So, but before, oh, I see. I get it. I get it. That is so interesting. It used to tell me when someone entered. Now, only on Instagram, I think. So if anybody made an appearance on Instagram, I knew. Even if it was for a few seconds, it would say the person's name. So that's a cool feature. You don't have that on the others. You can leave comments, though, on, it looks like, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X so far that go directly into the chat, which is wonderful. All right, let's see what else we've got here. Now, Tony usually does the Bell Kings broadcast on Sundays. So, Tony, will you be able to do it this Sunday coming up? Super Bowl Sunday. And the game is Sunday, right? I'm just assuming. All right, Julian. I see Julian here. Thank you, Julian. And Coffee with Joe, thank you so much for your support. And Mark Daniels, Chuck Brooks. Who else? Someone else I have not. Eleanor. I don't really know Eleanor, so let's just have a look here. Eleanor has 57,000 followers. That is impressive. Smooth Sail, inspirational speaker. Interesting. I've got more and more people who are following who tend to be either emotional speakers, inspirational, or up-and-coming authors. We have Simone here as well. Hello, Simone. Thank you. Shift your attention from words to silence, and you will hear. And that is correct. She is a space host, which means Twitter Spaces. Jace Jacobs, thank you for all that you do. What else do we have here today? Do you think women's basketball will ever take off? Is that possible? They just don't seem to get the same funding. What does this say? Oh, look at that. He's going to return to the Commander. Oh, that's wonderful news. He's a great coach. I think Eric is definitely going to fit in well there. And I think that was part of the reason they hired him last year. I think that was one of the first steps. This is a crazy. SF 49ers. Okay. Which is San Fran. What do we got here? I can't play that. The first World Championship game AFL versus NFL. Oh my God, how old is that? Look at that. That is 1967. In 1967, if you were on the planet, how old are you? I was 4. Now, this is before I followed football, but I bet you my grandfather watched that game because he loved football and boxing. All right. Which one's this? 1975. That's what I think that may be one of the most famous of all time Super Bowls. Yeah. Winning is a lot bigger than I thought it would be. And that was the MVP of that game was Franco Harris. And he had that insane reception and scored. And nobody thought the Steelers could win. So once again, it goes to show you. So we're looking at here. We're looking at the last 10 Super Bowls right here. So last year, we all know Kansas City won, right? The Rams won in 2022. The Buccaneers also won in 2021. And Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes won their first in 2020. So we're looking at 4 years ago. And then last year. And then maybe this year? What do you think? I don't know. Then if you look here, it's pretty dominated by the Patriots in 2019, the Eagles in 2018, the Patriots again in 2017, the Broncos in 2016, the Patriots again in 2015, and that looks like Seattle in 2014. That's pretty impressive. But it goes to show you not many teams ever make it to the final and how incredibly difficult it is to get to that. You're getting a kick out of using Restream. I am actually. Was out of town this weekend. Where'd you go, Tony? Did you have a good time, whatever you did? I hope you did. I noticed that you were on Nonsensical Nonsense there. I think I said that right. Oh, look at that. That's a cool hat. Oh, it's not going to let me highlight it, but it's going to show me the article here. They were making jokes today about Brock Purdy, the way he dressed, that he wore the Eddie Bauer collection. Now, for those who don't know who Eddie Bauer is, it is a collection for older men, like my age, that demographic, between 50 and 60. Not a young man. But you know what? I think he's just an old soul, right? He's an old soul, and I don't know. I think they're being a little tough on him. You know, they're going to have to look at him a lot differently if they win this year. And how much money will he make from the endorsements? And there will be a lot of them. Did anybody watch the Pro Bowl this year? I watched highlights of it. It looked fun. I like that they're not risking the players in the sense where they can get hurt. I think that's great. Let's have a look here. Okay, so we're going to look at the MVP awards. And these are the candidates that they have up. So we have Lamar Jackson. We have Dak Prescott. We have Josh Allen and Brock Purdy. And isn't it funny, after all these people saying that he's a game manager, he's a third string quarterback, he's considered to be an MVP, even if he comes fourth. I think we need to retitle that. And a lot of it is, I think, the placement that he was on within the draft, because he was in the 7th round. But they knew right away, that they had something with him. The coaches were saying, look, I think the quarterback with the greatest potential in the future is our third string quarterback. I honestly believe that he might lead the team, which I think is phenomenal to have that kind of faith from your coach. And he was, very young man. He's still a very young man, but, that was 2 years ago. And look at how far he has come on his journey. So I think it's time to give him some just dues. I love to see, that Dak Prescott did so well. To me, Joe Burrows, right? Josh Allen, our dear friend, who's not even in the MVP here because he didn't play well in the regular season, Patrick Mahomes, they peaked at the right time. If you're going to peak, right now is the best. And many professionals say, look, if you can make it to this degree, where you can make it to the tournament, and you can make it to the Super Bowl, which is such an honor. It's also heartbreaking. The amount of work and preparation and perseverance and grit that it takes to get to this level is unbelievable. Crazy. So we should always celebrate and honor the people that are at that level. Do you guys think that Stephen A is a little bit off the tracks lately? He seems wild. But I think a lot of that is just for ratings. I don't really believe half the time he believes the stuff he's shoveling. All right, what do we got here? The Cleveland Browns. Oh, yeah, there's all kinds of talk. I hope Joe Flacco stays as a solid backup quarterback. And we'll have to see. Oh, this is awesome, too. Who do you think is going to win here? So we've got D'Amico Ryans. And, for those who don't know who he is, he's from the Texans. Shane here, Sachin, is, I think, a very incredible coach, very underrated. One of those guys that made the most with the roster that he had. They went through so much adversity this year. So Sean, I think, is going to do quite well. Dan Campbell, everybody knows who he is. He's the fierce leader, bite kneecaps coach. They were so close to make it to the final. A couple of bold calls, I think, ended up costing them dearly. Kevin Stefanski, I think, is one of the best coaches in the league, personally. But this year, if you want to go for Coach of the Year, and I don't know why Andy Reid isn't here, but that's okay, it should go to Dan Campbell. That's my own feeling, right? I honestly don't know how the voting's going to go because it's done by the players. But many people passionately love Dan Campbell. Unfortunately, there's quite a few people who don't like him because he is so outspoken. But I think of these four, D'Amico Ryans, to work with what he had this year, with so many young players like Tank Dell, right, Nico Collins, I think he did a phenomenal job, harvesting young players, and that is not easy to do. Where Shane, I think he performed a miracle with what he had. And Kevin Stefanski, I don't know anybody that could have went through the roster changes, all the injuries that they had, and to have Joe Flacco save the day. It was almost like a really corny movie that's hard to believe, all the things that fell in their lap. It looked like for a while there that they had a shot to maybe make it to the Super Bowl, but a couple really pathetic. Unfortunately, interceptions stopped that. And Dan Campbell was close as well, but the problem with him was he made some, really bold fourth down decisions that ended up haunting him, where those same decisions earlier in the year got them in position to be where they are. Where D'Amico Ryans, I think, was probably the most steady day in, day out. They did incredibly well. They peaked at the end. And I'm really excited to see how CJ Stroud will do this year. And considering he was the second draft pick, his first year with the first year coach, I think he had one of the best, though, quarterback coaches, offensive coaches that helped him, get to where he needed to get. And, we should also probably mention 3 or 4 other people, but this is the top 4. So I'd be interested in knowing who you think is most worthy of having Coach of the Year. All right, what else do we have here? And then we'll call it a day. So what I do with this is I take it later, and I take the best snippets of this, put it on TikTok, sometimes put it on Instagram. You can do the same thing. If you have Restream, it's easy to upload it. It's easy to edit it. I highly suggest, though, to go to your YouTube if you're using YouTube. Download it from there because it's already shrunk. And it's shrunk in such a manner where it's still very high quality. And I find sometimes, depending on the format, especially TikTok, if you try to go with the larger file, it has a really rough time matching up. So that's just a little tip. I think the average person probably doesn't know what's going on. Oh, look at this. So these are the domes, the massive dome, and they have it looking like the helmets. That's so incredible. I look at that all the time and think, is that real? And all the things they've been able to have in there, right? To me, it's this incredible billboard that's worth so much money. All right. I like the music. This is ambient. So if you are broadcasting and you need background music, you can also adjust the level. You can have copyright-free music with the Restream program, and you'll never get one of those warnings or strikes because it's made for making production of video content. All right, let's do one more maybe quote and we'll call it a day. That is so cool. And I think it's important that I show both. All right, show this one as well. And that's the San Francisco one. Look at the size of that. It almost doesn't look real, but it is. All right, let's see here. Let's go to X Pro and click this back. The other thing you have to be careful too, especially if you're starting with Restream the first time, maybe just limit the amount of windows you have open because you can get very confused and actually hit the wrong button, maybe end the broadcast. I've never ended one, but I've ended up lost in limbo land, which is easy to do. And then you have to kind of retrace your steps and get yourself back. So Super Gina, thank you for your support. For those who follow me, I also have a secondary channel called Shout MGB on Twitter. So if you could follow me there, that would be great. And if you're following from, say, X, which is, formerly Twitter, please follow me on YouTube. You can find the link within Twitter. The YouTube now is growing steadily every month. So I'm very happy with the progress. I love this. Isn't that beautiful? That's amazing. And that's, I believe, digital art. I don't think that's real. Billy D, there he is. I need to do a broadcast with him. I'm going to see if we can do that. Maybe him and I can do something. He has probably the best setup I've seen. Very professional. What does he say here? Interviews, authors, creators, commentary, opinion. Huh. He's on, well, he's saying he's a podcaster. He's on X Live. What is X Live? Okay. Media, spaces. Oh, he's got the link tree here. Let's click that and see what we see. I should check this out later. I could probably learn some stuff. It says listen with friends on Good Pods. That's one of the things I've never heard of before. He's on TikTok. I think I follow him on there. He's got a podcast trailer, and he's got multiple podcast platforms, which is what I got to get better at this year. Because I really think that podcasts are the future. Thank you to All About Jesus. Good to see you. Thank you. I'll put your comment up here. And what else we got? Okay, I think that's it. And I learned a little bit today, which is great. I always love when I can learn. But I should in the future maybe pick Billy D's brain, because what he knows about content and how to make content and where to make content is unbelievable. So highly recommend following him. You'll learn. It will be time well spent. Okay. Thank you for being here. If you can, subscribe, like, and share, and see you next time. Thank you so much. Thank you to Tony D for being here as well. I appreciate your support, my friend. Take care.